Welcome back to the Chasing Tone podcast. I, of course, am Brian Wampler. And again, back this week is my good friend Blake Weiland of the Tone Mob podcast. And we actually kind of go all over the place a little bit, but we touch on his new gear purchase, how it's been something that he's wanted for most of his life. And I compare that with some of the things that I've wanted. We talk about acquiring that piece of gear that you've really wanted for years and years, but have never been able to obtain, and what it's like when you actually do get it. We also talk about a very confrontational type of posting on YouTube that happened this past weekend, or I guess it would be last week now. And we also talk about a lot of other things, including like pickups and how PAFs came to be, and just a lot of good Gibson-y type of stuff. So some great info in this one. Let's jump right into it.
Oh, we're recording. Sorry, I was just wrapped up in dreamland.
So was that your brutal tone?
This is kind of brutal. I mean, you tell me. Like, what do you think?
It sounds pretty huge, and that's just through my iPhone, through my earbuds. Sounds quite huge.
It's
or huge. Sounds huge.
Or huge. Huge.
Yes.
Let me be all professional and I'll force myself to put this down. As much as I don't want to. Just a second. I guess we got to record a podcast or something.
Oh, I hear a strange frequency in the background. It sounds like there's some hum going on. You might have some fluorescent lighting causing problems. Could be a possibility. Can everyone hear Blake walking around?
Okay, I'm a professional podcaster again. I put my lovely thing down, and now here I am, talking to you.
Sounds like you are quite into the guitars today.
Oh yeah, Brian. I don't know what the word to describe this is. I don't know if I've ever experienced this exact experience before.
So you're sort of euphoric over this ethereal experience then, right? Because could it be said this is the pinnacle of your day? You know?
I think I know where you're going with that. And I just got to say it makes me all warm and velvety inside.
I know. I mean, I know what it's like when you get some sort of Leviathan type of guitar, you know?
Exactly.
It's just a beast,
it is. Know? It's a real beast. I mean, now that one doesn't work. Dang it.
I was going to say, it can sometimes take you to a different latitude, you know?
Well, it can. I just feel so hot-wired right now. Just so hot-wired.
Well, it kind of catapults you into a whole new area. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it sure does.
There's no such word as catapult, but I just made that up. So
yeah, well. To be fair, I don't know if it was you, but somebody made it up a while ago.
It's sort of the king of tone. Oh wait, that's not us. Never mind.
Oh, good one.
So I can tell by your enthusiasm that today is NGD.
Ooh.
Right?
Yes. So I guess I should back up a little bit.
Sure.
I have talked about it before, but I'm starting to realize through posting excitedly about it on social media that I haven't talked about it as much as I thought I have. I've mostly just talked about it with like my close friends. Ever since
You're really a drummer, aren't you? That's what you're trying to say.
No.
You're coming out.
No.
I'm really a drummer, Brian. I'm sorry.
Well, I started playing the drums. That was my first like rock and roll experience, and I was the worst drummer in the world. Ever. In any world.
I can relate.
I'm a better drummer now than when I was trying to play drums. I mean, it was atrocious. It was bad. But no, ever since I started playing guitar, for some reason, and I don't know if it wasn't specifically Randy Rhoads, but like because he's not like, I like Randy Rhoads, but he's not like, like a guitar idol of mine or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But he most famously uses this guitar. I have always wanted a white Les Paul Custom, like forever. And I don't know, I probably just seen it all over the place in various like punk rock and like metalcore bands or something that I was into at the time. And anyway,
you were a closet GNR fan, right?
I don't have anything against GNR.
I'm just if you're playing a Les Paul, then you're a Slash fan. That end of story.
I guess I've been a Slash fan for longer than I thought. I've always, my first electric guitar was a Les Paul.
I've been a Slash fan before there was Slash. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I'm teasing.
Yeah. So anyway, I've always wanted one. Played a whole bunch of them over the years, and all the ones I played, I was like, this one's not very good. Like, some of them were just boat anchors. They're a notoriously heavy guitar anyway, but
right.
Some of these were, I don't even know. I've never weighed a guitar in my life. I just pick it up and go, yep, that's too heavy for me to play on a regular basis or whatever. Not that heavy guitars can't sound good, but
standing with one of those on your shoulder for 5 hours can wreak havoc, especially when you get older like me. Really.
Yes, exactly.
Like, I love my Les Paul, but it freaking hurts if I play it. If I played at a bar kick all night, I'm feeling it the next day. But I'm old, Yep. So I can relate, though. I can relate.
Yeah. So anyway, in a nutshell, I finally got one.
And once again, why is this guitar so special to you?
I don't know. I just sum it up to, I seen a whole bunch of bands playing it back in the day when I first started really getting into guitar. And I've always wanted a white Les Paul Custom. And
why white?
I don't know. I love the white on that guitar. White with gold hardware. That is just so rock and roll to me. I don't know.
Kind of a Randy Rhoads thing then. It really is, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, he's definitely the most famous user of that particular setup. Definitely.
So you've been going off the rails on a crazy train all morning, haven't you?
I indeed have. Ironically,
you know what they say, crazy, but that's how it goes.
Oh, Brian. You and you're just on it today, aren't you?
I'm on something. No, I'm teasing. I've had a lot of coffee.
I could use some of that right now. But
not to go back to our last podcast. I think it was our last one, but it was again the amazing connoisseur coffee house here in Martinsville, Indiana, McDonald's. It was that brand. That's the brand I had this morning. But that's because my wife brought it to me.
Well, aren't you
special? Like we said before, that we really don't have much of an option. But and we've already talked about that. I think it might have been last week or the week before, somewhere along the lines. I know we've talked about the lack of coffee shops here in my town of Martinsville, Indiana.
Right.
Yeah.
We've talked about it at length.
Yes. So, and it's a frustrating subject for me, so it might come up again because, guys, I am forced to, like, the best coffee place in town is McDonald's. Think about that for a second. That's the life I have to live. Like, you're in Portland. You probably can step out of your house and throw a rock and hit a great coffee shop,
I actually step out of my house into a great coffee shop. I just walk out the front door, and that's the first place I end up.
Probably
it's
so.
Weird.
I envy you.
Well, you know what? I don't want to talk about coffee. I want to talk about my 1981 Les Paul Custom for like 2 hours. Can I please talk about it nonstop in all ways and shapes and forms? Because I'm in love with it. It's so great. I'm like, I don't even know.
Now, what gave you the idea this was even a guitar podcast? That doesn't even make sense.
What's a guitar podcast?
Not this one. That's for Damn sure. I'm kidding. Of course we're a guitar podcast. Why else would we be called Chasing Tone?
Well, it could be, I've heard some people complain that about my podcast in particular, the Tone Mob.
I go ahead. I'm sorry. I interrupted you. I do that a lot.
They complained that they didn't get any, like their arms didn't have any better tone after listening. So that could be what people's interpretation is. I'm not sure.
I totally want to get into the guitar, but I have to say this. I don't think I've ever talked about this in public. But when we were coming up for titles of this podcast years ago, several years now.
I know where you're going with this, and we have talked about it before.
Have we? Yeah.
Yes. We shouldn't repeat that.
It was almost called the Pedal Files, and I'm like, no, we just can't do that. That's terrible. That's so just horrible. Bad. Just out of a joke, and I'm like, I don't know if everyone will kind of get our Indiana humor, which is kind of like teenage high school humor.
I'm just trying to think of. I'm trying to think of how many listeners you would have if that was indeed the show.
3, and they probably wouldn't be listening for guitar pedals. They would not be interested in guitar pedals at all, I don't think.
Oh man!
So yeah, glad we didn't go with that name.
Me too.
I thought
Otherwise,
about
I probably wouldn't be here.
I thought about calling it the Tone Mob, but I thought that was a stupid name.
Well, it is. I mean, stupid name came up by a stupid person. Who would think of anything like that?
I know. I don't know how you live with yourself. But I do know how you live with yourself because you have a brand new, not shiny and not crispy white Les Paul.
Exactly. It's yellow just right. I mean, just right. Oh man, I'm looking at it right now.
So it's almost like tobacco stained white, like when you move into like your first apartment and they haven't painted yet and the last person smoked for a long time. And so the walls like were once white, but now they're like not white. It's like that color, isn't it?
It is. I guess I already have posted some pictures. I'll probably post a whole bunch more pictures. I should go put it in the Wampler Pedals Tone group just to be like, yay. And then I don't know what good that will do anyone, but it'll make me feel like I just have to tell everybody about it. I have to. You should openly brag about it. That's the first thing to do is put it in front of everybody and tell everyone how much better you are than them because you have that guitar. That's what I do. That's true, isn't it?
No, I can understand though. Like I have what is my Les Paul? I don't know. It's what's the cheaper one? The Studio or whatever?
Yeah, the Studio.
And it's like a 98, and I've changed the pickups in it, and it's okay. I paid like $600 for it, so it's probably not as good as yours, but it's okay. I've got that Whitfill my Les Paulicaster, which looks like a Telecaster with the scale of a Les Paul, and like it's kind of modeled after a Les Paul, right? So, but it looks like a Telecaster, and it's nice, but it's not exactly like a Les Paul, but it's a heck of a lot lighter too. So like when I want the Les Paul sound, I'll grab that guy and take it with me. But if I'm playing something long, and I do like it, but. Most people it doesn't show the rock like a Les Paul does. You know what I mean? That's the thing about Telecasters. Even if you're playing in a rock band, it kind of seems like people think you're a country guy. It doesn't like John 5, doesn't he play Telecasters?
Yes, he plays like he's got an insane Telecaster collection, I believe.
Yeah, so like you would never expect that. I mean, you know what I mean? Like I bet the first gig they showed up, they're like, "Oh, great. Bet he's got a G-bender," that sort of thing. I don't know. I'm totally making that up. Maybe he didn't.
I don't think. I don't know. I think that used to be the perception, like back in probably like
my day.
Yeah, back in your day, all the way even up until the early 2000s. Honestly, that might have been the general perception, but. Because I remember there was some metalheads in school, and I was talking guitars with them, and I was like, "Yeah, my dad really wants a Telecaster," And they're like, Telecaster? Pfft, that's stupid. You got to have a Kramer with the whatever and a Floyd Rose, or you're not even playing guitar.
See, I think, and this is the difference in areas, because you're in a pretty hip area, you know what I mean? Culturally, it's more advanced culturally than where I'm at, right? So like here in Martinsville, like people still kind of think that, or at least in this area, like that's still kind of a perception. If you show up to a rock gig with a Telecaster, they're kind of like, what are you doing with your life? So, and it is a lot more backwards, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know where I was going with that. Just a general observation for everyone out there.
I really don't think there's any and I think with really gear focused groups too, I don't think there's any perception. I mean, classically, the Telecaster is, in my opinion, known as one of the most versatile guitars. So
I think so too, man.
I love a good Tele.
But I did the Dracaris video, the one I just put out with the Telecaster, and it's because I like the way it sounds,
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily bring the twang with me, but it's got I don't know. I mean, I really any guitar. Like I've got an Ibanez RG 350, blah, 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 or whatever it is. And I even chicken pick on that just because it screws with people. That's a fun one to roll up to a gig with, just because they're like, oh, great, we got a shredder. And then I'm like, and they're like, what in the crap what is this guy on?
What's he doing? What is he doing?
So that guitar was like, that was the one that you were pining for a majority of your life, it sounds like.
Yes, like ever since I knew what different guitars were, like I wanted one of those. And it's a little bit surreal, honestly, because I got to a point where I thought, well, maybe I don't actually like these, because I only liked them aesthetically. I mean, I like Les Pauls. I already knew that. I played Les Pauls forever, but I thought maybe the customs just aren't for me, because I had played so many clunkers. And this one showed up, and I purposely, it was like I picked it up and like held it for a picture. I was like helping a guy out at a guitar store, and I just played it unplugged real quick, and I purposely didn't plug it in. I was like, I think this is going to be a really excellent guitar, and I probably shouldn't buy a guitar right now. So I'm not going to plug it in. And I just left it there, which was like the most self-restraint I've ever shown, probably. And I got home and I was talking to my wife about it. I'm like, oh, I can't believe it. I found this guitar, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be awesome. And I'm pretty sure like this, but I was like, I know I really shouldn't buy a guitar right now. Apparently I kept bringing it up a whole bunch, and then my wife was like, oh, just go get it so you'll shut up about it.
Will you shut up if you just go get it?
Yeah, and so I went to the store, plugged it in, and was like, yep, this is everything that I thought it was going to be, and I'm super stoked. I'm actually only the second owner of that guitar.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty hard to find for, what'd you say, the 81?
Yeah, 81.
Wow. So let me do some math here. It's like, can I see, carry the 1, 20, 30. That's like 80 years.
Well, I thought yeah, you know what? You're right. It is 80 years. It's 80 years old. No, it's really uncommon, and it's in really good shape, but you can tell it was played, and has, just the right amount of little dings and bumps. It's not like something that somebody threw in a closet, but it's been well cared for, and definitely played, and it has a ton of life left in it. Unless I play it like I've been playing it today, which is just constantly nonstop, then it won't last very long.
So I have two options that I would give to you to make it even just a little bit better. One of those, of course, is a G bender. Okay. It's just because you got to. The other one is you need a locking Floyd Rose tremolo.
No, I don't.
No, you do.
No, I don't.
Yeah. It's what's the best thing for a Les Paul.
It's not the best thing for anything.
That'll destroy the value in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, another thing I forgot. I have to keep talking about it. You probably are familiar with this, but are you familiar with the Tim Shaw humbuckers?
No. Enlighten me.
So, Tim, I don't know all the details, but on a quick Google, it was right around this time, 1980, or like I think it's like 80 to 85 or something. I'm not 100% on there, but it is around that time. Was Gibson's first crack at recreating PAFs. And so the guy that was kind of behind that movement was Tim Shaw, and he, as far as I can tell, like went back and measured a whole bunch of original PAFs, and there was some forum chatter that he may have even talked with Seth Lover about it and tried to like get, as close to the originals as possible. And as everybody knows, the PAFs were kind of all over the place. So he just took and kind of made the best PAF he could. And that was what is in this. And they're a pretty desirable pickup, and I can definitely see why after playing with it for a while.
Interesting.
So, anyway.
So like I was sitting here trying to think like what is a piece of gear that I've always wanted that I either recently acquired or don't have. And I think I don't know, man. Like I'm kind of weird about gear because I kind of have everything I want, and if I don't, I just make it. You know what I mean? But but my obsession isn't. I mean, I love guitars. Don't get me wrong, but I don't have that good like. I'm not obsessed about pickups like a lot of people are. I'm not obsessed about guitars like a lot of people are. I just have my preferences. You know what I mean? Like, here's what I mean. So for pickups, for example, one of the things I found out early on is that one pickup, let's say you buy, name your favorite brand of pickup. With Tonal Concept or not,
I don't know. Boutique brand? Boutique brand probably Roadhouse.
Okay, so let's say you got your favorite Roadhouse pickups, right? Mm-hmm. And you put them in Guitar 1. They may sound great. So you're like, okay, I'm going to sell this guitar though, so I'm going to try them in Guitar 2. They may or may not. They may sound better, or they may sound worse. Like what I've noticed is that some pickups may sound great in one guitar, may sound terrible on a totally different guitar. And I have theories why that is, but I can't prove it. It's not backed up by science. It's just backed up by gut, I think it's just because I think wood resonates at frequencies. And I think when everything is combined, like a neck with a certain body and a certain pickup, I think sometimes it's magic and sometimes it's like, it's okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. I mean, I think that's why I played so many of these customs that were like,
right,
not for me.
And I think
I agree.
I think I think that's one thing that people don't understand about buying higher end gear is that there's a lot of time. And let me back up a little bit. I can't speak for every guy that builds guitars, but the one I do know well is like Charles, and he takes all of that into account when he's making guitars. You know what I mean? Like he takes a neck and he takes a body. And he matches it. He's not just like, all right, well, I've got a stack of necks here. I'll just grab one from the pile. Like he's looking for specific properties. It's all proprietary. He doesn't tell me. I just know that he's very picky about what pieces of wood and what pickups he uses for each one. So like, for example, I did a test with, I don't even remember what brand of pickup it was now, but I put a different pickup in one of the Telecasters he sold me, and it didn't sound nearly as good in that guitar. Now, the pickup that he had in that guitar also didn't sound nearly as good in a different Telecaster. So it's like that pickup with that guitar just worked for whatever reason, Mm-hmm. And I find that fascinating. I don't know how you'd replicate it on a big scale, but I think that's what sets a lot of higher end gear builders apart is they put the time into that sort of thing. It's like capacitors.
I think so too.
When I'm designing pedals, I find that resonant frequency of each capacitor. I taste it, make sure it's got the right flavor. I also make sure that there's a little bit of shine on each capacitor because you got to shine it. You got to put a thin coat of wax on each one. That's really important because it really allows electrons to flow a little bit better. But the taste test, that's a big one. Not the legs because that'll poke you and probably kill you with lead. But just the top of it, just a quick lick on top. Make sure it's got a little bit of tang, a little bit of tart, a little bit of sweetness, but not too much. That's what makes a good pedal. It's all about the taste of the capacitors.
What happens when you get a capacitor that you give it the lick test, right? You know, like that, as we've discussed, is so crucial into having a good guitar pedal. Mm-hmm. But you give it the lick test, and it comes off very like salty and more savory than having that tangy sweet flavor. What kind of sound can you expect from that?
Well, see, that can be used too. So for something like that, you would want to sell that to a competitor. You know, really. So, you find the competitor that you're trying to compete most with, and you're like, hey, I've got a bulk of capacitors that we just don't need. I'll give you a great deal on them, you know? And that's usually what we do. Yeah, we kind of do that.
Right. So you basically have sold savory capacitors to your competition? You're telling me you...
Salty capacitors, because you don't
salty.
Like, I don't like the salty ones, you know? I don't like the salty ones. I like the sweet ones.
Is it one of those things... Is it one of those things, though, like that, like you say, it comes down to individual builders. So the salty ones, maybe Keeley likes the salty ones, and he's been selling you sideways the sweet ones.
You know what? Oh, mind blown. That totally just gives me a thought that I've never thought before. Maybe that's the secret to Robert Keeley's success. Is that he's been selling me sweet stuff. I've been giving him the salty stuff. He's actually getting the good ones.
That's what's happening.
I'm going to have to renegotiate this deal with Robert.
He's getting all the salty ones. We really ran with that one.
I'm proud of myself. I came up with that all by myself.
That was great. I'm surprised that we were able to keep it together that long.
Well, McDonald's coffee will do a lot for an intellect, I'm just saying.
Oh, I will take that into account and might go get some myself.
I don't highly recommend it.
I've had it before. I just don't remember what it tastes like. It was definitely not salty.
Tastes a little bit like shame, but it's okay.
Delicious, juicy shame.
Exactly. So, I mean, but I was kind of joking, but kind of not when I said that there's not, like, if there's not something I want, I'll build it. There is an exception, I guess. I have an amp from Dave Friedman that is the best JCM 800 clone you would ever want to plug into. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I can't give a lot of details of why that is, but it's not mine. Dave let me borrow it for a little bit because he's a heck of a guy, and he knows that I like JCM 800s. And this was made for a very popular guitar player. Mm-hmm. And I don't know the full story behind it, probably because it's none of my business. But he's like, hey, this guy really loved this amp. I think you'll like it. And I plugged into it, and I'm like, holy crap in a bucket, that sounds great, you know? Mm-hmm. So that is one of the exceptions where I didn't build that amp, and I always wanted a JCM 800, and he loaned it to me. I wonder if he wants that back. I've had it for like a year now. Isn't it technically mine? Technically, that's mine. Dave, if you're listening to this, we have laws about that, man. I think I've been squatting on it long enough. It's mine, and that's such a thing now, right? Squatters' rights.
Oh, I 100% agree with you, 100%. And as a matter of fact, that this Leviathan is now mine. I've had it for so long. I've had it for so long.
Am I going to get on a plane and come get it? I just spent $600 to get my $200 pedal back.
Knowing you might. You might. I don't know.
Only if you guys have
just to prove a point.
Yeah, that's me. I'm just gonna throw caution to the wind. So what else? I'm looking around here trying to see what else do I have. I'm a simple guy. really. Like, I've got a bunch of tube circuits, I guess you could say, like, sitting around me where I've been messing. I'm actually working on a new amp design.
Ooh.
And yeah, it's going to be a cool one too. It is totally going to be different.
Well,
Like,
I seen somebody in your Facebook group that's really not going to like that then.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I responded to him this morning as well. Apparently, he's not very happy that I'm making amps and he hopes I fail. So, okay.
That hurts my heart. I don't understand that.
I wish you would have stuck with pedals, not made amps, and I hope you fell. Okay. Thanks.
But if you fail, then you're not going to make pedals anymore either, because that means you failed.
It's kind of like it feels like I know that this was your hopes and dreams, but I'm here to crush them. That's my job. I'm here to crush your dreams. I hope you fail miserably.
It's almost, to me, it's more like, hey, I know you really, really want this to work and you've put a lot of time and effort into it and everyone seems to really enjoy it. But you know what? It's not what I want from you. So if you could just go back to doing your thing, that would be great.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, speaking of, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but did you happen to see the pedal show? They just did a video. Well, now when you're listening to this, they did a video last week, but they just, as we record this, they just did a video yesterday of the Bravado amp. And it was like kind of like a demo compared to like a Lone Star type of thing. And I don't know if you caught that or read the comments, but in the comments, there's this guy trolling like hardcore trolling. And he's the guy that's like, pedals suck. Only amps through, guitar straight through amp is what rules. You guys who like pedals suck balls, And so I'm like, all right, and I was polite. I'm like, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So you don't like pedals. So you decided to click on a video made by The Pedal Show. And you decided to comment about how you don't like pedals. I'm like, I'm just curious, like what makes you do that? And I put a little smiley face. That way, I'm being nice because that's what you do. You can say whatever you want as long as you put a smiley face at the end, right?
Totally.
And so, of course, the guy just said that he said I was, forming a straw man attack against him. And so here I'm scratching my head like, I just asked a question now. And he said he had 2 of my pedals. He was immediately going to take them to his local store and trade them for a small pack of picks. And he was going to tell them to sell it cheap to some poor kid. And I was like, okay, so you spent $200 on each of these pedals. You're willing to lose that, and you're going to tell the store to what you want them to sell the pedal for. And like, first of all, I don't believe that you have any of my pedals because you just told me you hate pedals, right? So, second of all, I don't know who you're mad at. Are you mad at the world? Did your mom not bring you peanut butter and jelly last night while you're sitting, upstairs or in the basement? Now that you're like 50 years old and mom didn't bring you peanut butter or jelly and you're pissed at the world, like what is wrong, dude? So it went on the entire day where this guy was he was going to tell all his buddies and he was going to tell the world about how we are a terrible company. Let me put it this way. He started making very aggressively sexist comments about my wife.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What?
And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, this is just like, he is one shotgun shell away from like killing someone. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's just not right in the upstairs. So I just backed away from it and watched it. But I'm seriously thinking like, what would compel someone to do? Like, why would you, what sense does that make? It's kind of like, let's say that I go onto a chess video, right? On YouTube. I'm watching about how to play chess. And I start telling everybody about how much chess sucks and checkers is better and that nobody should play chess. And I'm pissed because all you do is show chess. That's all you guys do is show chess stuff. And I'm like, it's a freaking chess channel, you know? I'd be like, on what planet does that make sense? I hope he's listening to this. So I'm making a motion with my finger right now.
I'm just sitting there like, we haven't talked about this yet. This is the first time hearing about it. I mean, I know you get trolls. We all get trolls, and they're trolls, and trolls be trolling. That's what they do.
Right.
But I can't. This person clearly is not even a logical troll. There's something wrong with this person in some way.
Yeah, I mean, it was all good and fun until he started talking about, very. I'm trying to not.
Just saying bad things about your wife.
Very extremely negative, bad things. Yes. Like completely out of taste.
I don't know how they do it over there in Martinsville, but around here in these parts, that's liable to get a man killed.
Well, see, that's the thing, and I always say this about trolls. Like, trolls exist because they can't do it face to face because someone would punch them in the mouth,
Mm-hmm.
And so their power is behind the keyboard. And I've got a whole thing I want to do about this, but I can just imagine it's like,
we tell you what, guitar pedals suck. Anyone who likes guitar pedals are just jerks, I swear.
Like that. Like that's what I'm picturing whenever I read a troll's comments.
Well, you're probably not far off. I mean, like, it's probably literally that bad. And it could be, honestly, some of these people I've noticed, I don't know, like, if you're like, let's see what this troll's all about. And you go to, and like, kind of lightly dig at their profile or whatever, and you're like, for some reason, it seems to either be a kid, like a very, very young kid, or an older dude. Like older, like way older than you, like somebody in their 50s and 60s.
What?
Like, it's just like, it doesn't really.
You.
Yeah, older than. No, that's what I mean. Like somebody who's visibly like an old guy. like you're an old dude. Why are you wasting your time complaining about guitar pedals? I don't understand.
Because he's trying to save the guitar world. If the world only knew his message that all pedals suck, then the world would be better off.
SG into Marshall is all you need. That's all you need.
Oh my gosh. So anyways, if you're out there and you happen to, be bored and have nothing to do, look up the Bravado video from that pedal show on YouTube. Scroll through the comments. It had a bazillion replies from this guy, so it's probably quite high up there. But yeah, he was saying off the wall stuff about everybody.
Wow.
It's amazing. The lack of
being
what's
a
the word I'm
human?
looking for? Huh?
The lack of being a human?
Yeah, the lack of humanity, I guess. I'm struggling for the word. It's just like the inability to be a decent person. This guy displayed that perfectly.
Yeah. That's the internet. So, there's lots of those on there.
And even like, just as a joke, he said something, I said that he accused me of bringing a straw man attack to him. And I said, what's a straw man? Is that like Spoon Man? Because I love Soundgarden. Like, it was a total joke, you know what I mean? Spoon Man being a song by Soundgarden. And so so then he started attacking my lack of education. He's like, you're just such an idiot. You don't even know what a straw man is. And I'm like, he totally didn't see that I was joking with him.
Wow.
But okay, whatever. Have fun, man.
I'm going to go look this up as soon as we're done here.
You've got to read it. It is highly entertaining, if nothing else. And it might make you just pull a little bit of hair out because you're surprised that someone could be so crazy.
Mm-hmm. Nothing surprises me anymore. I become jaded. The internet has made me a jaded person.
I can understand. So that's my big story for the day for this week's podcast. And I know that doesn't relate at all to acquiring your favorite piece of gear after all this time. I have no idea why I threw that in there. I thought it might be funny.
Oh man, this thing didn't go in any of the directions that we talked about. It's so funny. I love this podcast.
Which kind of is the direction of this podcast. So, we always, to the listeners, as if you don't know, Blake and I discuss beforehand, like, we should talk about A subject, B subject, or C subject. And so it's like a guideline, right? And then from there, it's just completely from the hip. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a very loose guideline. Very, very loose.
Yeah, it is. It is. So, but you know what? I hope I hope someone got something out of this. And I hope that you have fun with your Gibson Les Paul today.
I'm going to go back to playing it after I look at this troll.
I'm going to, look at the troll first. I'm going to go look at your Insta pages for a picture of that guitar.
Okay. I'll try to get a better one. I didn't take a great shot of it, but I'll try to get a better one. Maybe I'll
do it justice, man. Do it justice.
Well, I'm not a photographer, so that's going to be impossible. But I'll do my best.
Well, I'm not a chemist either, but I still make pedals.
Yeah, but you know what they taste like.
By the way, just as a legal precaution, I was joking about the capacitors. I do not recommend anyone eat or put anything like that in their mouth at all, because that could cause serious harm, damage, possibly death. So don't do that.
Whatever. Go ahead and do it. As far as I'm concerned.
That's all on you. All right, man. Until next week.
Bye.
And thanks so much for listening to the Chasing Tone podcast. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me directly at podcast@wamplerpedals.com. You can email Blake directly at info@tonemob.com. Also, make sure you check us out on our Facebook pages. You'll just type in Tone Mob and type in Wampler. You'll find it. And if you have any, again, I haven't said this enough, but if you have any ideas or any questions that you want us to answer for upcoming episodes, please don't hesitate to contact either one of us. We love answering questions. We're here to help you. We do this because it is fun, but we really do this to help, answer questions that we get from day to day. So appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening.